there weren't even any fleas at that market.
God, I love making stupid intros. Hey everybody, my name's Hagen. Welcome back to Lettuce Comics. I love the idea of waking up and going to a flea market just as much as the next person. But doing that in theory and doing that in reality are often two very different things. Because here's the thing, right? Fig Newton's first law of motion states that a fat nerd at rest will stay at rest unless acted upon by a greater outside force. And the thing about me is, given the opportunity, I would probably sit on my couch and eat whales until I died. This episode's sponsored by whales. Whales! Get them in your face. However, this past weekend, Jacob from Bone Claws Comics gave me the catalyst that I needed to go out to a flea market, thrift store, and my local comic book shop. Jacob and I met here on YouTube, and we found each other on Instagram, started talking, and realized that we live close enough to one another to where we can actually meet up occasionally and go look for comic books with one another. So, we planned today and made it happen. The first place we went to was the Anderson Jockey Lot. They claim to be the South's largest flea market, and I think they might be right about that because I have never seen a flea market larger than this. They are a permanent flea market on 65 acres worth of land. This flea market features a giant indoor area with no AC, shaded and unshaded flea market tables with no AC, and several smaller standalone buildings. Again, no AC. Now, there are normally a lot more vendors at this flea market than there were today, but it was like 87 degrees at 10 a.m. and 94% humidity. So I think that scared most people off. Me and Jacob's strategy was to look through the indoor section to see if there was anything decent in there. We were mainly looking for like cards, collectibles, toys, things that would kind of lead you to believe that there were comic books nearby. We did not find any indoors though, so we had to head outside. There was one odd experience that I had at one of these dealers outside. He had on his counter a bunch of 25-cent, 50-cent books from the 90s, and that's normally the kind of thing that you find at flea markets. He did have inside his case what looked like could be slightly better comic books. And the only reason I say that is because I saw that he had one of those amalgam Spider-Boy #1s up on the wall. So maybe there was something interesting in the counter. But when I asked him if I could take a look at the books that were underneath the counter, sort of in this glass case, he told me that he, and I quote, wasn't messing with them at this time. So I asked him what exactly that meant, and he said that he had to go through and price them. And like, okay, but why are they at your booth? I don't know, but you know, he has every right to do that, I suppose. As we were walking away, I looked over to Jacob and I asked him, like, did I do anything there to provoke that response? And he was like, no. So I guess that's just how it goes sometimes. We did find a dealer that was primarily specializing in like anime stuff and Magic the Gathering cards and Yu-Gi-Oh cards and things like that. And so because those are nerdy things, we decided to walk into that hut and ask him like, hey, do you have any comic books? And he said no, but he did tell us that there was a place nearby that we could go and find some. And that gentleman led us to this location. Now, I didn't catch this guy's name, but if you are into old records, albums, CDs, magazines, and yes, of course, comic books, this was the booth to go to. And just like everywhere else, it was an unair-conditioned shack in the middle of South Carolina heat. But to make up for that, he had an awesome 50-cent and dollar bin, and then he had a box of Silver Age goodies that me and Jacob both took a look through. He was a very, very nice older guy, happy to talk to us, but also happy to just let us look through his stock, move all of his boxes around, do whatever we needed to do to find the stuff that we were looking for. So, let's go over what I got from this vendor. The first thing that I got is this. Now, this is the only regret that I have there. This isn't one of the 50-cent books. This one was actually $2.50, which normally wouldn't be that big of a deal because this is an Alex Ross Spider-Man cover. But what you can't see is that there is some debris stuck to the trade dress and down the side of this book. I suspect it might be the internals of a cigarette, and that's just kind of yucky, and I wish that I had seen that before. I've never thrown a comic book away. I might have to throw this one away. I don't know yet. We'll see if I can do something with it. Out of the 50-cent bin, I got this. This is Blackest Night #0, the free comic book day edition. I know nothing about this book, but I really liked the cover. It's got all the different colors of the Lantern Corps on there. And for 50 cents, I'm okay with that. I want to learn more about all of the different events that have happened both in Marvel and DC. And so, if I can get a free comic book day edition of one of the biggest events in DC's history and maybe learn a little bit more about it that way and sort of wet my whistle, I guess, then I'm totally fine with that. The next book that I picked up is this. This is Captain America #15 from Ed Brubaker's second volume of Captain America. I haven't gotten to read this yet, but as far as I know, there's no key significance. I just really want to finish Ed Brubaker's second volume of Captain America. I've already finished his first, and this helps me achieve that goal. So I was happy to give this guy 50 cents to add this to my collection. Next up is this. This is Captain America and Hawkeye #631. And I got this because Captain America is transforming into some kind of dinosaur on the cover. I don't know anything apart from that, but this is a perfect 50-cent bin book for me. I'm so excited to figure out what in the world is going on in this book. The next two books that I got are somewhat related. They also came out of the 50-cent bin, and they both feature this character, Nightcrawler. This is Excalibur #16 with an awesome cover. I regularly see Excalibur books in the $1 and 50-cent bins, and ever since watching X-Men '97, I've really started to like Nightcrawler. So anytime that I can pick up one of these for cheap and give them a read, I'm happy to do that. Just like this one. This is X-Men Classic #108. Just like the last one, I got this simply because of the cover. Nightcrawler is pensively sitting on a gargoyle in New York City, and I think this cover looks amazing. I'm really excited to give this one a read and learn more about this character, hopefully. Next up is this. This is the New Avengers 14 from the Fear Itself run. Now, I picked this up because I actually try and get all of the tie-ins for Fear Itself. I know that it wasn't super well received at the time, but it had one of my favorite Captain America moments, which is him lifting Mjolnir in his costume for the first time. So anytime that I can get tie-ins for cheap like this, I'm happy to do that. The last thing that I got out of the dollar bin was this. This is Wolverine #77. Now, I like Wolverine. I especially liked him as a kid. He's not my favorite character, so why did I get this? Well, Jacob from Bone Claws Comics regards this as one of his favorite books, and it was one of the books that got him into collecting comic books. So I thought it would be really awesome to try and pick up a copy of this at some point, and this just so happened to be in the 50-cent bin. So I was happy to grab this and show Jacob, like, hey man, look what I got. It's your book. It's the one. Super excited to add this to my collection and give it a read and maybe understand one of my friends a little bit better. Before I show you the two comics that I got out of the priced as marked bins, I wanted to show you something that I find really interesting. And that's this. This is Mad Magazine #550, and it's actually the last printed issue of Mad Magazine. And I was able to get this for $3. A cursory look through eBay recently sold listing shows that this goes for more, but even if I can't sell it or trade it for something, it's still really interesting to me to have the last issue of what is such a landmark magazine for so many readers out there. I spent a lot of time as a kid watching Spy vs. Spy on Mad TV, so being able to get something like this, to me, is really cool. Now, I did get two things out of the priced as marked bins. The first one is this. This is Batman Judge Dredd, The Ultimate Riddle. Now, the very first thing that I did when I got home was crack this open and give this a read, because I love Judge Dredd, and who doesn't love Batman? So I read this expecting something awesome, and it was okay. It wasn't my favorite thing in the world, but It is just an awesome concept, so I'm really happy to have it. And I got it for $7. Probably right about where this is worth. Happy to have it, happy to add it to my collection. Super, super cool, regardless of what's inside. The last book that I picked up from this guy was this. This is Combat number 27 from 1968, and I paid $7 for it. I really like old war books when they have planes or tanks on the cover. And seeing this made me realize that I'm extending that to battleships as well. This just looks really, really cool, and I'm happy to add a Dell 12 Center to my collection, especially for $7, which I think is a really fair price to pay for this book. So I was able to walk out of that vendor with all of these comic books for $22.50. I think I did really well at that vendor in the flea market, but you guys let me know. As we were walking back to the car to go to the next place, Jacob stopped me and said, "Before we go anywhere, I've got something to give you." And he gave me 5 comic books. The first one was this. I mentioned offhand at some point that I actually didn't have a copy of this book, even though it seems to be a fairly universal piece of people's collections. And so he heard that and gave this to me. And this is even the fold-out wraparound cover, which I think is really super cool. Adding into that this is the book that made Marvel go bankrupt and what ended up causing the formation of the MCU later, I just think this is a neat piece of history and just such a goofy book. I'm really, really happy with this. A big thank you to Jacob. The other 4 books that he got me were these. This is a mini-series of my favorite character, Captain America, and his favorite character, Wolverine, together. Now it says Wolverine, Captain America. It's really a Captain America book. It follows Captain America and Wolverine trying to track down a missing microchip, and the fate of the world depends on it, and these are the only 2 men that can go, and yada 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 comic book nonsense. I thought it was really, really fun, and the fact that this was given to me by somebody I thought was really awesome. So Jacob, a really big thank you for all of these. I really, really appreciate them, and having them come from a friend makes them that much more special to me. The next place that we went was kind of an odd one. There's a thrift store right next to the Anderson Jockey Lot. I'll put the name of it right up here beside me. And while they are technically a thrift store, they have like old teapots and glasses and dishes and typical thrift store stuff. They seem to really specialize in nerdy things. They had a massive collection of Funko Pops, old video games, and they had a couple short boxes of comic books there. The only thing about this thrift store is that they weren't priced like a thrift store, especially not with comic books. I did notice that there was a first appearance of Apocalypse there, but it was $30. And while it was in really high grade, that's not really the kind of thing that I was going there to look for. But I did manage to find this. This is a Batman Christmas issue. And I really like Christmas issues. I like whimsical things like this. And so it's got this like holly border around it. And even on the cover it says, "Batman, have yourself a deadly little Christmas, the blockbuster." And at the top of it says, "The first day of Christmas will be the last day for someone on this cover." And like, this is just classic comic book goodness. So I was really happy to be able to pick up this book, Batman number 309, a Christmas special, for a really reasonable price. Then after going to go get something to eat, because look at me, we went to my local comic book store, Borderlands Comics and Games in Greenville, South Carolina. One of these days I'm going to be brave enough to bring a camera in there, but I've been going to this store since I was 9 years old, and that still feels like really too official for me. I feel like I have no right to do that in there. So instead of filming and being stupid YouTubers, me and Jacob just went straight to the dollar bin and had a blast looking through stuff. The very first thing that I got out of the dollar bin was this. This is The Adventures of Superman number 558, and the reason why I got it is because the cover was drawn by a kid. I really, really like this. I hope that it's not a situation where an adult is trying to make a drawing like a kid. The whole reason why I got this is because I love the fact that it looks like they let a kid put their artwork on the cover of a comic book, and that's just amazing to me. I'm really excited to give this a read and see if there's anything relevant to this cover on the inside. But regardless, it's worth it for just the really cute cover and concept alone. The next thing that I got was sort of inspired by Nate from Haul Yeah Comics, because he really likes Warren Ellis, the author. Not the person, the author. And I saw this in the dollar bin. This is Captain Swing and the Electrical Pilots of Cindery Island. And I cracked this open and read it. It was like the third or fourth thing that I read when I got home. I didn't really like the story. Like, I could feel that it was moving along, but it did feel very sort of disjointed to me. I'm hoping to be able to find maybe the rest of this series in a 50-cent or dollar bin, or maybe I'll just read it online. But just the name alone, Captain Swing and the Electrical Pirates of Cindery Island. This is such a neat name, and I really like the aesthetics. So I'm really happy to add this to my collection, and I think of one of my friends when I read it. The next thing that I pulled out of the dollar bin was this. This is Universal War 1. This is book 1 of 3. I know very little about this, but it's a limited series by Marvel that I've never heard of, and so I wanted to give it a shot. I'm really excited to read this and find out what it's all about, and I will keep you guys posted and let you know. Digging through the dollar bin, I also found this. This is The Rocketeer, The Great Race, #1 by IDW Publishing. Now, I have really liked the character design of The Rocketeer, and I've liked it for a really long time. When I was a little kid, the sort of 20s steampunk aesthetic really appealed to me. I thought it was really cool. And so to be able to find something like this in a dollar bin when all the other Rocketeer books are going up, up, up because of the recent Dave Stevens documentary, it just makes me really happy to be able to find it. I really like the character. I really like this cover. You can really tell like the motion that's going on in it. And since it's a #1, I know that I can crack it open and read it and not be missing anything. So I'm really excited to have added this Rocketeer, The Great Race, #1 to my collection. In that dollar bin, I also found this. This is Nomad #1. And the whole reason I got this is because 1, he used to be a sidekick of Captain America, but 2, Nate from Haul Yeah Comics really, really likes garbage 90s characters. And this is like peak 90s garbage. You can even tell because it still comes with Nomad's rookie card in it. So I'm really excited to open this up and see an action-packed 90s story and see what this series is all about. The next thing that I got was this. This is Excalibur #4, and I got it simply because of the bit on the cover. There's this whole paragraph about this janitor asking about all the things that you want to see on the cover, and he says, nope, sorry, cleaning up. You gotta go inside to see all that. I just really enjoy, like, kind of silly, whimsical covers like that. For coming out of a dollar bin, the condition of this book is surprisingly good. The corners are really sharp, there aren't any spine ticks, and it's an all black cover, so that's really confusing to me. But it's not like I care about the high gradeness of the book. I just want to have it. But if I can get a really high grade book for $1, I'm cool with that. I also got this. This is Speed Racer Special #1 from Now Comics. Now it has a story in the first half, but the second half is all like diagrams of the Mach 5. And I think that's really, really interesting. Speed Racer's not a character or a franchise that I'm super familiar with, but I do know this car. And I'm about to put this up right now. This cover folds out into a wraparound cover. And it's got like a sweet painted 80s airbrushed style. It just looks really awesome. And the splash page on the inside looks really, really cool as well. So if I can get what is effectively a really cool art book of this franchise, I'm super happy with that. I also got this. This is Judge Dredd #13, and I'm trying to get the Eagle Comics run of Judge Dredd when I can. The 2000 AD books are not widely available stateside, so if I can have awesome color reprints of these stories, that's perfectly fine by me. And the cover has got all of these like monkey dudes in the background, and Judge Dredd on the cover saying, "No one apes the law." So I'm expecting high-octane ridiculousness from this book, and I really hope that it delivers. The last book that I picked up was out of Borderlands back issue bins, and it's this. This is Daredevil number 233, and I've known for a really long time that I really want to add this comic book to my collection because it has two of my favorite Captain America moments ever. Out of nowhere, they appear. This one's been shot. Medic! Over here, man! A soldier with a voice that could command a god. Put those fires out. We don't want a gas main going up. And does. Suddenly, it's raining so hard it hurts. Everybody who can falls silent. You can't go in there. General, who is this man? Captain. Pleasure to see you, pleasure. Oh, that nonsense. I'm afraid you're not cleared for that, Captain. But it's nothing to... You know how these things... I really wish I could tell you, Captain. Then you'd know it's nothing to... I wish I could... You know how the department holds you in the highest regard. We've always valued your commitment and your loyalty. I'm loyal to nothing, General. Except the dream. Key issue books get all the love. First appearances, deaths, that kind of thing. But I really, really like collecting story moments. There are books that I've bought that I collect solely because of something that happens in the story to characters that I love, and this book is no exception to that. And because it's not a key, I was able to pick this up for $4. And I was able to pick up all of these books for a mere $18.27. Which means, all told, I was able to pick up every single one of these comic books for $40.27. And since I had a budget of $40 for this trip, and I had 27 cents in my cup holder, I'd say that I did pretty good. A huge thank you to Jacob from Bone Claws Comics for going on this comic book crawl with me. I really, really enjoyed spending time together with somebody who I didn't have to worry about pestering while I was looking through dollar bins and looking for comic books that I love, because I knew that he was right across the aisle doing the exact same thing along with me. And I don't know if I told him this, but this was actually my first time looking for comic books with another comic book person, so thanks, Jacob. So that's everything that I picked up from my Saturday full of comic book hunting with Jacob from Bone Claws Comics. So what do you guys think about what I picked up? I think that I did really, really well, and I'm happy with every single book that I got, but I'm really excited to see what you guys think. Is there anything that I picked up that you've already read that you want to talk to me about? I would love to talk to you guys down in the comments section below. And one more time, because it bears repeating, thank you so much to every single one of you. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.